and you're part of a big cooking food show reality thing that we're very interested in because we live vicariously through people like you that get to do that stuff while we watch it on TV. And we were just talking off the mic what a different reality TV can create to what's really going on. When I see these cooking shows and these people are thrown into competition with each other, I often see or think in my head that they're professionals on some level. Right. Or they've done this, they've done catering, they've done stuff, and they're really trying for their big push. Not at all the case with what you just did.
No, I mean, I'm a local Santa Barbarian. I mean, I grew up here, and my first job was honestly at the country meat market in Goleta.
Really?
Yeah, like honestly, Frank Service lived across the street, and I started, working with him like when I was like 5, 6 years old, like during Thanksgiving and Christmas when they got slammed. Sweeping up and just being around it. And so, grandmother's a great cook. My dad nailed it on the grill. I've just always been very curious.
But you've never worked in the business or the industry. It's a hobby thing for you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm the guy whose dinner party you want to come to. I've never been to culinary school. I've never, worked professionally in a kitchen. And although, late night at 3:00 in the morning in a few kitchens I've raided, but that was
Absolutely. So how did you get?
So cool.
How did you get onto the show?
I was literally watching Chopped with my kids, and I'm sitting there with my daughter Sophie and my son Cash, and we were watching the show, and my sweet daughter goes, "Daddy, you could win that." And of course, I'm like, isn't that cute? She thinks I'm Superman. Literally, I'm like, aw. I kind of blow it up. But then she's like, well, how do they get on? And my son, of course, is like, yeah, Dad, you totally could. And they're like, well, how do you get on? How do you get on? So they usually post on the website when they're casting. And I literally threw it away. Like, next thing you know, my daughter's on the laptop, foodnetwork.com, cast. 8.
Wow. She's 8.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So that's how I got on. It was basically my kids made me apply.
Shoved you in there, yeah.
They did, and they had 20,000 people apply, and I had no thought I would hear back. I literally thought, I'm sending this out into the ether and never going to hear.
Now, what did you use for your audition? I mean, did you pick something and you had to give that some thought?
Yeah. They had, we had to obviously do a cover letter, but we had to submit video of us cooking at home or something like that. Mm-hmm. And there's my day job is usually working in television, and so that's another reason why I thought they wouldn't pick me. But I have a show called Taste Life that I've been trying to get off the air, and there was a clip of me cooking at the Rancho San Julian, here up at Lompoc, and with their sustainable grass-fed beef, and I made a habanero beer reduction.
Oh, yummy. Invite us over.
It's good. It's one of the simplest things. But so anyway, I submitted that clip. And that's what actually got their attention. They were like, beer reduction. And I get a phone call from hi, this is Liz from Food Network. I'm like, what? I mean,
wow.
Middle of the day, random phone call. What's that number? I don't know. And pick it up. And it was like, hi, Food Network.
Wow.
And so then they were
Fantastic.
like, we want you to come to LA and cook for a food critic. So that's how they made sure that you're bona fide. So I had to go to LA. And the funny thing is, they didn't have a kitchen. It was at a production studio.
Oh, wow.
So that was part of the challenge was everybody had to bring their... So I made ceviche.
Mm-hmm.
So I went literally down here to the harbor, Santa Barbara Seafood, got myself some... what did I have? I had yellowtail. And I made ceviche here, and so basically got to marinate in the car.
Oh, nice.
as I drove to L.A.
And that's the audition process. This is before you were even chosen to be on.
Yeah.
Right? You had to do that as a step to get on.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I had to cook for a... And the other thing, I'm really big in wine. Obviously, we live in Santa Barbara, but wine is one of my things. And I actually have a web series called Tasting Talk, and we actually drink wine and talk about it, and it's fun. And so I used a local Santa Barbara Riesling and put it in my ceviche. So then when I showed up with the critic, I actually gave her a glass of the wine and said, this is not just bribery.
Very good.
I was like, but I don't know what you ate today. I don't know what's on your palate.
Sure.
And she laughed. She's like, you're right. And then I said, and it's in the ceviche, and I made a soft taco out of it. So I had ceviche soft tacos with a plantain banana, salsa and some pretty yummy stuff, and she loved it.
Closed the deal.
It did.
All right.
Obviously, it worked because I got on the show.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to Lee Abbott, who was just on the All-Star Academy on Food Network. Now, Lee, okay, so you get in, and so tell us, this was an 8-week competition?
Yeah.
So did you go every week and film? Did you film 3 or 4 or 6 at a time? I mean, tell us about that process.
How it works is they flew us all to New York, and we shot an episode every day. So even though it airs once a week, we were competing every day. And
wow.
It was hard because...
Like a game show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, basically because you have, you get the set and you find out what the challenge is. And they did not prep us. We literally walked in cold, and they said, here's your challenge. And because it was All-Star Academy, the challenges were very kind. They were like, your challenge today is history. Cook us something from your past.
Yeah.
Or your challenge is geography. Cook us where you're from.
Right.
You know, so they always gave us kind of a school lesson. And then it was like, you have 10 minutes to go converse with your mentor. Again, the format is they take us home chefs and pair us with a Food Network all-star. And so that's our mentor. And I got Alex Gornishelli, which
phenomenal.
Funny thing is, she's who we were watching on Chopped, and my kids said you could be on the show.
Oh, perfect.
So when I got on, day one, minute one, walking into the Food Network kitchen on camera, I went, my kids just saw me on Food Network. I'm like,
dear.
I won. I mean, like, literally, that was it.
That
moment
was
was
it.
like,
that was enough.
whatever happens from here on out, my kids just saw me on Food Network.
Oh, that's very cool.
And then I got Alex Gornishelli, which could not have been cooler.
Yeah, and what we talked about last week, you told me about the challenge that they gave you.
Yeah.
And I was quite surprised, even what you just said about your geography, it was more broad. You go on some of these cooking shows, and it looks like here's a corn cob and a leaf. Now
Yeah.
make something.
Totally.
But yours was actually
Yeah.
quite easy in a way.
It was fair because then we got to literally go look in the refrigerator, open the fridge up, and see what they had. You're like, oh, like for example, last week on the comeback episode.
Yeah. Big.
Those of you at home, I actually got knocked out and got brought back. Pinch hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. And but they had pheasant in the fridge, so I was like, boom, I can pick that and we can do something with that.
Okay.
So we had 10 minutes to talk with our mentor to figure out what we're going to do, and then that 45 minutes starts now is real, and it's scary.
Wow.
I
No
mean, like,
editing, no chopping. That's the
no,
real deal.
That's the real deal. And everybody there, what was fun was that all the other chefs, amazing people. I mean, we got to be friends right away, and you're literally looking across the kitchen at somebody just whip up, you know, this is eggs 3 ways. And you're going like, in 30 minutes, you got to be kidding me. Stuff that we normally would cook at 2 hours at home drinking wine, you're having to do in 45 minutes.
I see.
Wow.
And it was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but and your mentor cannot help you. They can stand behind you and talk to you and coach you, but
And
they
they're
can't.
behind a wall, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, like a half wall, so they can lean over and say, "Hurry!" You
I
know,
see.
or you know.
Yeah, but they couldn't. You know, they couldn't taste it, and that was the big thing. Was you had to taste, you know, as you're going, and that was the thing. I think that being older among the competitors, I just trusted my taste buds.
Yeah.
I really did. I
Yeah.
just went, I don't care as long as I like what I'm plating. If I can say that tastes good, I'll be okay.
Right.
You know, I mean, because. Oh, and Alex is such an amazing coach. She's so cool. But literally, there'd be a minute left on the clock, and she'd be like, I think we need some squash juice. And you're like, what? I don't have time for this. You're like running to the pantry to go get a
Wow.
juicer and it's a squash, and you're making squash juice, and all of a sudden you're like, there was times I literally was throwing at the plate.
Wow.
5, 4, 3, 2, and throw, and it would
Wow.
land on the plate, and they're like, time done. And it was... So you do that once, and then you find out if you won that round, you get to go back to the hotel and start drinking wine. If you didn't, you got to go again on elimination round.
I
So
see.
every day you basically had to cook twice, and I actually made it through the first 5 episodes without going to elimination round. I kept passing in the first round.
So,
Way
out
to
of
go.
curiosity, when okay, so you filmed 1 episode a day.
Yeah.
So you were there for 8 days, probably like 10 days all
I was
told.
over 2 weeks, like 50,
Okay.
yeah.
And when did you film this? And how long have
November.
you? Oh my!
Yeah, I've known
Oh,
since
dear.
November. Yeah.
Oh,
Which, of course, NDA, you can't tell anybody.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, especially because last night, you know, it literally did come down to the last minute of the show to find out that I got second place. You know, and so it's like, people are like, did you win 50 grand? And I'm like, well, and what's funny too is the food, they don't pay until after the show airs, because you can imagine somebody would run home and like buy a Hummer.
Right,
You know,
right.
and the neighbors are all like,
No,
you know,
I didn't win.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think my neighbor won because he got a stand-up pool in the backyard. All of a sudden. And we've been loving it. No, but so yeah, we would shoot like an episode one day, another episode the next day, and then day 3 would be the interviews. So when you see all those sit down
Oh, right.
chatting, the other thing I thought was really cool about it, like I never knew how they did this, was we had to make 3 plates. So we plated 3 plates, and the reason why was as soon as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 done, one of them went back to the kitchen where the judges tasted it hot.
Got it.
I always wondered that. They're like,
Sure.
They're going around the room tasting
Right.
9 plates. The last person's going to be in trouble because their
Right,
plate's
it's
going to be
gelatinous.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
So they whisk one
Yeah.
off immediately, and the judge go tastes it hot. Plate number 2 goes to photography, so they can get that beautiful hero tabletop shot
yeah.
of it. And plate 3 sits out on the stage and gets cold.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
fine. So by the time they come taste on camera, they've already made their mind up. They already know what they're walking into. They've got to backstage kind of even go back and
I
forth.
kinda
and
like
bite
that.
of this, bite of that, and really figure it out.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So-
behind the scenes. That's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was funny was that, like, I was always watching their eyes, like when they would take that first bite, because you know if somebody's making the interesting face,
Yeah, of course.
or if somebody's going yummy. You
Yeah.
can tell
Right.
on their face.
Yeah.
And I would see like the eyes roll up in the head and that yummy face happen. I was like, yeah, we're
You know what
okay.
was funny too is that when the taster, the judge,
Yeah.
would say, "Now this is interesting." The coaches would be like, "Oh no,"
Yeah, totally.
because
He
they
used
didn't
the
know
I
is
word.
that interesting good?
Yeah.
Is that
Right.
interesting
Yeah.
bad? Is
Right.
that
and they work that.
Yeah, of course,
They
of course.
absolutely get
Yeah.
you wound up. I mean,
Yeah.
and what was funny is they would come up and they would. The biggest thing is like earlier on, I think episode 2, I actually made a fillet, which sounds simple, but if you don't nail it, you're going home.
Sure.
It's one of those things that has to be perfectly medium rare. If it was a little bit medium or a little too rare, and also then I did an ancho chili vinaigrette that I put on top of it, and the judge was Aaron Sanchez.
Oh,
I'm right up his alley. Like if I
Yeah.
don't nail ancho chili with
Yeah,
Aaron
you're
Sanchez,
so going
like
home.
that was actually the thing that Alex was like, "Do you want to do this? Because you can go home if you miss." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if I nail it, he's gonna." Like,
Yeah.
But what was cool is watching him cut into that steak, and you're crossing your fingers, going, "Please be cooked right. Please be cooked right." And all of a sudden, like it literally in slow motion falls apart. And you see that perfectly pink medium rare, and it was
you're
like,
like,
"Yes!" And then he
"Nailed
took a
it."
bite, and it was like, and his eyes did the yummy face, and I'm like, "I'm okay. It's all
Yeah.
right."
You had a few food planets line up for you
It was
on this deal.
ride.
That's
It
very,
was a
very
ride.
cool.
It was such a gift. It was
well,
really
if you
cool.
haven't seen it, check it out. They're you can DVR it.
It's on Amazon
this-
too.
yeah.
You can get the whole series on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, very
If
cool.
you have, then we say way to go. What's next, Lee? Do we know what's next?
Talking about a few things, but it's all talk until somebody cuts a check. It's exactly like the band industry. Like, hey, we love your band, man. Yeah, great. Well, cut me a check so I can go in the studio. I mean,
Well,
it's no different.
Keep us posted.
Thank you, of
And
course.
you're always welcome back here. And Lee, it's just
and
it's
at our
such a
picnics
pleasure.
and at our parties
Yes,
and at our
absolutely.
barbecues.
Yeah, that's what happens now. Everybody's like, hey, you going to cook?
How about you just come and be with us?
Of
How's
course.
that?
Anytime. Really
All
cool.
right. Well, this is KTYD. We just talked to Lee Abbott, All-Star Academy. Want to get a hold of Lee, you can find him on Facebook and check out all the adventures and see what's up next with Lee.
And
Thanks.
also, tastingtalk.tv is
Oh.
the wine series. So you can see,
very good.
and it's all Santa Barbara folks. So come on. I mean, I think right now I've got Telegraph beer on. We did beer on a boat, suds and seafood.
Now,
Oh,
how
I'm
long does
down.
that show last? I mean, as far as like the duration, is it 30 minutes? Is it? I mean,
Tasting
'cause-
Talk? Yeah, actually, there's 2 cuts. One is the full show, and the other's like 7 minutes. So you can just
yeah.
watch it easy one.
'Cause I was going to
Nice.
say, after a while, you're
Yeah.
slurring. All right, this is KTYD. Thanks, Lee. Thanks,
Thank you.
Dennis.